The moment is here, you can stop your search. It's Comics by Perch.
Hey everybody, this is Perch. Got a mail here about Hickman and Fall of X. One of the odd parts about Fall of X, I read the book Realm of X, which is one of the new number ones, spinning out by a writer, Torn, who Marvel is really high on and wants to give a lot of work to. Seems nice enough, no offense there. But in the comic, Realm of X, we see the cast. We got Danny Moonstar, we got Typhoid Mary, we have Magic, a couple other characters in there. I'm forgetting, I'm blanking on some of the people who are showing up in there. But at any rate, one of the characters in that book is Curse. Now, Curse is the kind of little girl-like creature, the psychopath character from X-Men Green, who was, basically just murdering people and everything else, and is clearly a more evil character. But Curse is running around in a dress, as are all the characters in Realm of X, and that's because they were teleported directly from the Hellfire Gala for reasons unknown. And I was like, wait a minute, Curse wasn't in the Hellfire Gala. That made no sense. The X-Men banished her, basically into the pit, and she was killing humans and a complete, opponent to the X-Men. The X-Men were in theory opposed to X-Men Green. Now there's this Marvel Infinite comic, and I know there's a sequel to X-Men Green, so it's very possible that, they somehow moved away from that, and the X-Men are friends with these characters again, but it sets up the odd part of all this. But the whole premise behind the Hellfire Gala and Orcus is that Orcus is basically blackmailing and framing the X-Men for a bunch of murders, and in particular murdering humans. And the Xavier and the X-Men are like, that's unfair. We didn't do any of these things, and they've got us. And yet, we've seen a couple comics now. With the regular X-Men title, Kitty Pryde went full just hardcore immediate murder of a bunch of the Orcus members. Now, granted, they're villains, but still, she is just killing the shit out of all of them. And then in Realm of X, we learned that, and even the Hellfire Gala, we learned that this eco-terrorist character, Curse, was, even before the Orcus attack, hanging out with the X-Men in a special gown, doing her thing. And it's unclear. So the X-Men are doing all this like, we were only trying to help the humans. We never imagined this could have happened, where we got framed for all this stuff. But we did invite to our dress-up party a character that's murdered several humans and is clearly a villain. But how could this have happened to us? It's just all anyway. So that was my observation from these comics. But let's get to this mail. It says, "Dear Perch, Destroyer offenses the third leg of God." You mean the dick? Huh. Is it just me, or does it seem weird that Hickman came back to Marvel to do the Ultimates right as Marvel is deciding to end his Hoxpox storyline with Fall of X? Shouldn't he be involved in this finale in some way? Or did they change it so much that the Fall of X isn't anywhere near what he wanted to do at the end of his run? Hope you and the family are well, brother man. Much love. Okay. Of course we don't know. We're not sure, what the circumstances are around Hickman's, return, or how much things have strayed. But basically, based on a lot of interviews, Hickman said a lot of nice things, certainly, about the X-Men and his time in that office and all the stuff that went on there. But, you just don't get the feeling like that was a perfectly, happy, cheerful, everything is, puppies and rainbows kind of conclusion. It doesn't have that sense to it. What it has a sense of, and Hickman, based on how he likes to write and everything else, he writes commercially powerful things, no doubt about it, but he also seems like a guy who, wants to have his own kind of art and stuff to the story. And so the way it certainly comes across and feels is that, Hickman did this X-Men book. I don't know. I don't know what he ever thought kind of the thing would wind up on, but the whole Hoxpox and everything else he did wound up being a huge commercial success. Marvel stretched it on and on and on. And basically, Hickman's, I don't want to say washed his hands of it, but sort of. It definitely has a feeling of, he's moved on. And so, whatever happened after Inferno and even some of the leading up to it, he said it was a pretty massive departure from what he originally wrote. It was very, very different. And so, you just have to assume that when they kind of wrapped him up at the conclusion of the Hellfire Gala, or sorry, at the conclusion of Inferno, and then they went on to a couple more comics and a couple other limited series. I mean, look, however you view the X-Men and everything that have gone on there, it's certainly, the entire series has the feel of just Marvel trying to scrape out every dollar they possibly can get from the series. It does not feel like, a well-orchestrated anything. It feels like a cash grab, probably because it is a cash grab. And bear in mind, these are commercial. People often say that like it's some kind of insult. I mean, look, it's a commercial business. Of course, it's a cash grab. And I don't fault Hickman. I've seen a number of people kind of criticizing him for, okay, you walked away from the X-Men line. Again, people are reading into it, going, you walked away because they changed your story so much, or they basically want to keep it going, and long past when you thought it was just a story that was in and done. But if you read a lot of interviews of Hickman, even before Hoxbox started, where he was talking about the X-Men and putting plans together and everything else, he talks about the fact that, hey, look, these aren't my characters. These are Marvel's characters. This is Marvel's, toy box. I get to play with toys in the toy box, and then I put the toys back in the toy box. And that's how it works. He's very accepting of that kind of as the ideal and the principle around, the comics that he makes. He doesn't seem upset by it. He doesn't seem like he's pissed. He doesn't seem like he's being taken advantage of. He deals, it just seems like, hey, this is the gig. It's contract work. These aren't characters I own. So I come in and I do my thing and I negotiate a good pay rate. And from all accounts, from everything I've heard, he got a pretty big upside bonus and good royalty condition on the books he's in and everything else. And he got paid at least as a showrunner. So, the deal worked out for him. He was happy. On the other end, if Marvel is going to then turn around because his stuff was a commercial success and offer him more money because, he proven that he can sell books. So you might as well, try it again with something else. And that's what we've got now with two different things. He's got the show running the Ultimate Universe. Marvel would certainly like that to take off and to go. But on top of that, he's now doing Gods, which is Marvel's answer to build their own little Sandman kind of universe, which I'm sure someone in the comic division, I don't think that's an accident. I think somebody is in there going, look, we got the Sandman deal on Netflix. We got, we're kind of tapped out on superheroes. Let's go for something that's a little bit more of the cosmic magic, a blend between the Sandman and I forget the other thing they're comparing it to. But at any rate, they're bringing him in to do these commercial books. No doubt about it. Hickman negotiated a better deal than pretty much anybody else working at Marvel right now. So, I mean, you can't fault him for that. So it's like, who's taking advantage of who here? Hickman is kind of going in and getting a big paycheck for doing books that aren't his, and he doesn't have to necessarily tie himself up into. He can just kind of keep himself somewhat at arm's length. And Marvel's getting somebody to do, more books that they can kind of, turn the crank and bomb it out. And so that's what's going on. I think, as a comic reader and as a comic fan, you look at it and you go, yeah, it would certainly make a lot of sense if, Marvel would actually, bring him back in to kind of wrap up the Hoxbox or Fall of X, or like, it really does feel like he had a vision that somehow got completely, bent over at some point by the company. And it'd be really nice if they could go back to that and, give us that again. But we're not getting that. So, I mean, they're not going to go back, and they're not going to, those days, that ship has sailed. And so if what would make a lot of sense to us as readers and fans, probably that's just not how the business works from Marvel's perspective. So, I wash my hands of it. Are you looking for, I'm curious if anybody's looking forward to Gods. I've been reading the one-pagers, and they feel okay, but it feels like also it's going to be a fairly obnoxious book. It's one of the things that was cool about the original Sandman, Neil Gaiman doing it for Vertigo, is that it didn't feel like Neil Gaiman was writing this thing as if he, kind of with a smug smile, like he knew it was going to be a big hit. He was writing a story that was kind of new and different and interesting. And everybody who's tried to copy the Sandman, including at times even things like Saga. They it has that feel of somebody like, this is gonna be popular. This will win awards, and it just, I don't know. I haven't been terribly big fan of it, but let's see what they can get. But I'm curious if people are looking forward to Gods. I'm also curious if you're looking for the Ultimate Universe. That one again, it feels like they did it. They ran it a bit into the ground. Hickman's run in the Ultimate Universe was not the good part of the run. I mean, that's the other thing. I mean, Bendis did a really good job over there. I think he did. I think his Ultimate Spider-Man was quite strong. He did some good issues of X-Men. I think, Mark Millar did some pretty cool stuff over there, for sure. I thought he did good work. I think Warren Ellis did a couple stories there. Those were good. Robert Kirkman did some stuff over there. It was good. I think there are a bunch of pretty good writers, but Hickman's stuff always is like, I don't know. And who could forget Jeff Loeb? I mean, his contributions to the Ultimate Universe. Am I right? Anyway, let me know what you think in the comments below. Like and subscribe, of course, and thanks for listening.